the moment where maybe you stepped out, maybe in what you were wearing or how you walked, talked? Where was that moment you're like, ah, Joel has arrived? Because I say it because I remember going out to a club in LA, to the Rage. And my best friend took me. She was getting her master's at USC, and we were walking down whatever, Sunset, I guess. And I walked in just like as me, and it felt good. I was like, oh, that's what this is like.
Yeah. I have an odd moment that was before I came out.
Okay.
But actually, when we left Peoria and we moved to South Bend, my ex-wife and I, and we were starting this church. Mm-hmm. During that time is when I really was starting to confront who I was. Because for one, I was like, okay, Joel, now you are in your own space. Like, you can get help. There's no pastor over you, so on and so. So that started me thinking, what could I do? Plus, despite telling myself that I had this clean slate in a new community where I wasn't going to F it up.
Right.
Didn't take me long to start effing it up.
How long have you been in the ministry up to that point?
About 10 years.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So then I was like, great. I was like, because I had lived in fear for the 9 years that I was on staff in Peoria. Every Sunday, I would walk out, direct the choir and the opening number, turn around and direct the congregation and open. It was a big church, up to 500 people there on a given Sunday. The big bus ministry, busing people in and so on and so forth. And while I was directing that first song, I would scan the entire audience to make sure that there wasn't anybody there that knew my secret. Every Sunday, I was so scared that I was going to see somebody sitting in those pews that knew my secret.
Did it ever?
It never happened. Never happened. But that was every Sunday. That is a lot of fear and pressure.
So they're like, Brother Barrett's up there sweating at that piano. It must be hot up on that stage. It is.
It is. There's a lot of anxiety.
I get anxious listening to that.
Yeah. Well, one time the newspaper decided to do a story on the church because we would bus all these kids from the projects and stuff. Very white saviorism and colonialism is basically what it was. But and I did I was the assistant pastor, and I did all of the baptizing at the end of the service. So when the decisions were made, and so that Sunday the newspaper was going to be there, and they were doing this whole story on this, and I was like, if they take pictures of me baptizing these kids, I'm going to be in the paper. And I had injured my back, but it wasn't that bad. But that Sunday I told the pastor, I was like, my back, I can't do it this Sunday. Would you mind doing it? Because I just can't do it. And I got out of the photo op that way because there was a picture.
But the thing is, you have this compounding fear. You've got the fear, one, of who you are, knowing that, and being found out. And you're not turning to anybody for help, support, or anything. Mm-mm. Then you have this fear as well. It's coming at you from all angles.
So let me tell you a story. I think this will help. Now, I had nobody to talk to, nobody. And I knew
that I resonate with because
I knew if I even said, hey, pastor, this is what I'm struggling with, my career would be over.
Yeah.
So I couldn't even just say, I need help.
Yeah.
Which to me was like, that's just so wrong that someone can't even admit they need help.
I need help.
Yeah. Because at that time, I would have welcomed help, whatever that was.
Yeah.
I was desperate. I would have had anything. But I used to go out into the woods behind the church. It was in a wooded area, and just cry and beg God to change me, kill me, something. Yeah. And I would just sit out there and cry. And then I would start worrying that somebody would hear me in the woods crying. I remember feeling like I can't even go in the woods and cry without feeling like somebody's going to find me, know? And those were hard times. And there's a moment that I have a whole chapter about this called My Epiphany. I was sitting in this church late at night one night preparing for the Sunday service. And I was in my office, and I don't know about your experiences with this, but churches on Sunday morning are so full of life and joy and all this. At night, on Saturday night, they are spooky as hell. And so I'm sitting in this big church.
Churches are scary at night.
Yes, in my office. And I never really liked being there late at night. It's all dark. It was a big church with long hallways, and you'd hear noises and so on and so forth. It just always felt spooky. But I was sitting there in my office working, and I just started having one of these conversations with God, just feeling like I don't know. I don't have any hope. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Everything's going to come crashing down real soon. I just was convinced. I was like, any day now, all it's going to take is one thing, and everything's going to come crashing down. Everybody's going to know my secret. I'm going to be unemployed. I don't know what I'll do. Will I lose my family? And I'm just sitting there thinking about all of this, and I'm crying and just like, God, do something, And as I was sitting there, all of a sudden, somebody walked into the room. And I glanced up because I was like, oh, great, somebody's seeing me sitting here. And there was nobody there. But I felt someone walk into the room. Like, in the most real way I can possibly say. It was suddenly there. I was not alone in that room. And I just felt a sense of warmth. And inside, I just heard, you're going to be okay. And then it was gone. And I just sat there, and I was like, I got chills. I was like, what was that? And I just was like, in that moment, it was the first time that I felt hope from anywhere in my entire life. Had I ever felt hope.
Wow.
I didn't know what it meant. Nothing more was said or came to me. But I was like, I believe that. And it was years before I was okay.
Yeah.
But, people will be today like, oh, what was it? I was like, I don't care. It doesn't matter. I don't need to identify what that was, who, what, how, if. None of that matters. What matters is in that moment, I needed hope so bad. And that experience gave me that seed of hope. And boy, I packed up my stuff and I left. but it was the only time I've ever had something that really felt almost supernatural in that moment. And it was years, but I often look back at that and I'm just like, somehow I'm going to be okay. And I just clung to that. And it was much, much, much later.
Yeah.
Before I found that hope, but that was my first time of just feeling something.